Hi, this is Sue Greenwald with Awakened Stories. I'm here today with Deanna Carr with the Mystical Moonlight. Hey, Deanna, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So glad to be back with you again. Yay.
I know it's been a while.
I know. So busy. Okay, today's topic is a fun one. Jack and the Beanstalk. Was that a
Yep.
real story? And here's the reason we're doing this particular video. I got a hit about, let's say, 2 or 3 months ago. Do Jack and the Beanstalk. Talk about that. But the weird thing is, four people separate around that exact time asked me if the story was true. And I just thought, well, how weird is that that so many are asking me the same question? So here we are. Okay.
Yeah.
Was Jack and the Beanstalk a real story?
Yes.
Ooh, how did I know? Because I'm told to do it. That's why. All right. So question, let's pick the story apart the way we were told it as a child. Okay, so Jack and I don't know if it was his mother, father, whatever, super, super poor. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. And they lived out in the middle of nowhere. They had no food. They were starving. So they traded I think it was a cow or a horse,
Hmm.
right? So Jack
Yeah.
had to go to town and trade either the cow or the horse, right? And then in return, instead of getting food like he was supposed to, he got a bunch of like 3 or 4 beans in his hand, right?
Yes.
Is that a true part of the story? Is that what happened?
He didn't. They weren't as secluded as they make it out to seem. He was closer to a society.
Mhm.
So it wasn't like, it took miles to get there. It was a little bit closer.
Uh-huh.
They did have to trade what they had, to get the beans. It wasn't really on purpose getting those beans. It was more of an accident. Like he was trying to get more food for them. And they kind of convinced them to take the beans instead, saying that there's going to be riches, gold, and more stuff than you can imagine. He didn't realize what they really meant when they gave him the beans.
Oh, cool. All right. So, how many years ago, I know this is a hard one. How many years ago would you say this story happened? Hundreds, thousands, or whatever?
It's over 1,000 years old.
1,000 years old.
Hmm.
Wow.
It's over 1,000 years old.
And this story still persists. How crazy is that,
It
right?
it still persists, but here's the kicker. You're gonna love this one.
Yeah.
What if I told you it wasn't on the Earth's surface that we're talking about?
I kind of was thinking that. So, tell us what you mean by that.
Okay, so we talk about, this beanstalk going up and finding the giants up in the clouds. And yes, that sounds great. But right now, the clouds outside, I don't see giants on, right? But when we talk about inside the Earth's surface, inside the core of the Earth, it's a lot different than you can imagine. So, what if this story actually happens on the inside of the Earth? Because there's more than one layer to the inside of the Earth.
All right. All right. So, would you say Jack and his like uh friends, family were like our size or were they smaller than us?
They're actually a little bit bigger than us.
Bigger.
They were not giants, but they were bigger than us.
Okay. All right. Let's keep going through the story, but it's getting interesting, right, guys? How
Hmm.
can this story persist for 1,000 years? That's crazy, right?
When a story has meaning, it has, intrigue, and it does have truth to it, it does persist. I mean, you can see that throughout different stories. I mean, even think about stuff that happened, 20 years ago. People still tell stories.
Yeah.
So things that have interest and truth to it and mystery, like, did it really happen?
Yeah.
They made it more into a fairy tale, but there is a way to keep them going throughout the centuries. And that's what they were able to do with this. Now, they changed a few pieces here and there,
Yeah.
but in all, it's pretty much what happens.
Wow. Okay. So what you're saying then is This happened 1,000 years ago. Jack was in inner Earth. He lived
Mhm.
closer to town than, the stories. And I'm thinking of that movie, Jack the Giant Slayer or whatever. It came out maybe 10 years ago. It's not a bad movie, but he's out in the middle of freaking nowhere, living in a shack, starving in the mud,
Mhm.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's not really the way it is, but they were bartering for food,
Yeah.
right? So
Which
he
is
went,
typical. Like if you think about it, bartering is pretty much what money became.
yeah,
It's just a way to say this is its value. Before it was, well, I don't have this, I have this, so
yeah,
we're gonna switch it.
yeah,
And now that we're money driven, if you don't have
yeah,
money, you have to have something else to give a value. And that's really what
right,
the bartering was.
right,
It was easy for them to say, I have this cow. This is of great value because it can do this, this, and this.
right.
I deserve this for that.
Okay, cool, cool. Okay, so he went to treaty, like we're going to call it a cow or a horse. Now, was the cow or a horse like what we have, or like in my mind, the things in inner earth have more consciousness, or they're a higher consciousness than the ones we have here, the
Yeah,
creatures,
most of them have higher consciousness, but the big thing is they're bigger.
physically
Everything
bigger.
on inner Earth is a lot larger than on the surface.
Okay,
And it it's something to do with the growth rate. Like it's a healthy nutrient system.
yep,
So
yep,
everything is larger. People are larger, food's larger, plants are, everything's larger.
yeah,
So our scale, it would be ginormous to us.
yeah.
So the cow is pretty much a cow, just on a bigger scale.
Okay,
Um, the consciousness was pretty much the same. They do have different variations. It's kind of like here you have, 10 plus breeds of cow.
yeah,
Some are smarter than the others. And it's the same thing down there. Some do have more consciousness than others. Some were bred to, be food for them. Some were bred to have a higher purpose. So it really depends. For this one specific, it was raised for food. So its consciousness was kind of at its peak.
right,
It did understand. I mean, animals are not stupid by any mean,
right.
but it was bred for that purpose.
Okay, so were they going to use the milk from the cow or eat the cow like we do?
They were going to use it for the milk. I don't see many beings on the inner earth eating meat.
Okay, okay. That was what I was worried about. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't bred for slaughter. It was bred for other purposes, breeding more cows for the milk. They do make stuff kind of like what we have out here. It's just made different and healthier
Okay.
and larger
Okay.
qualities.
Okay. So the story, back to the story, Jack goes to the city or to the town center or wherever and ends up being convinced to take a handful of beans versus getting a whole bunch of food, right, for the cow. So that's
Yeah,
true. And he was convinced that there was going to be riches and gold and all this other stuff, right?
correct.
Okay. All right. So the story goes then, he goes back home and I don't know if it's his mother, father, whoever it is, gets all teed off that he wasted the cow on the beans and kind of like throws them out the window and they go to bed. And then the
Mhm.
next morning, there's this magical giant beanstalk. All right. Did that happen?
It did happen. I mean, I think I'd be pretty ticked off if,
Yeah.
my kids brought back a few beans and I'm expecting some food because I'm hungry.
Yeah.
So that part did happen. The beanstalk didn't just magically appear the next day, though. It did take a week or two for it to actually start growing because when he got home, they got into the argument. They didn't actually start planting it. It does have a specific system that needs to be in place for the bean to grow into this giant stalk. That being said, they had to follow a specific like routine or ritual. And they did it, but it was more like a week or two later.
So they were supposed to do certain things, which they didn't do, but the beanstalk still grew. All
No,
right.
they ended up doing it.
Oh,
They
oh,
did it
oh,
by accident.
oh.
There was no purpose behind it. They didn't really know what they were doing. They're just like, okay, well, we've got them. Let's try something. So they did it by accident.
Okay.
It did work. It took probably a day or two for them to see it. It's not like they put it into the dirt and boom, it was there.
Yeah.
It did take a day or two.
Okay. Now let me ask another question. Where did the people that gave Jack the beans, where did they get the beans?
Um, how do I say this? They weren't real people. They were, I don't want to say a figment. It's what I'm seeing is they had one purpose. So when we talk about people that can go in and out of dimensions and realities, that's kind of what they were doing. They weren't in that time frame. They were there to give him the beans for this purpose. Once they gave the beans, they went back to their timeline. Does that make sense?
It does? Okay, okay, okay. Well, we're going to fast forward to Jack and the beanstalk that's growing. Okay, so once it starts to sprout, how long did it take to go super big?
It's a For it to actually start growing, it took a day or two.
Yeah.
Once it got up to full height, it was, within 24 hours. It did grow a lot faster. It just wasn't like instantaneous where it's all of a sudden growing out of the ground, you got to grab on. It took about 24 hours.
Okay. Now, how tall, like in some of these movies or cartoons, the beanstalk's like giant, like bigger than a tree,
Mhm.
big enough where you can climb.
It is big. It is kind
Okay.
of like how they describe with that because you have to think if something is going to grow tall, it needs structural support. It's not, I mean, it is a magical bean, but it still does have kind of the same gravitational thing that you're thinking of.
Okay.
It needs to be a bigger stalk
All
to
right.
get to the height that it's going to go.
All right.
So it was a larger beanstalk.
Okay. So how tall up did it grow? Like a mile? I mean, I know that's not fair, but
Try 5 miles.
5 miles tall.
Yes.
Holy crap. So what was the radius of the base of that beanstalk? It had to be pretty big, right?
I'm getting 20 what? 20 feet. That doesn't seem like enough.
Wow.
It starts with a two. It's there. I have a feeling it's more 200 feet versus 20 feet. And for those
Around?
in other countries, I don't know the I don't know the conversions, but
Oh,
I'm getting no diameter. So going from one point to
across.
one point.
Okay.
So you got to think if it's 200 feet, they're going this way. I don't know what the circumference
Oh,
is.
oh.
Math
Okay.
people, math for me.
So pretty darn big is the answer there, right? Pretty
Yeah.
darn big. Okay.
It's very big because 5 miles going up, it does need to be structurally sound. Now there is magic infused in it, but it is going to such a height that it still has to have support. Magic is not just going to hold it up for however long.
Wow. Okay. So what would inspire, say, Jack or whoever to climb that? Like you wake up and there's this 5 mile tall beanstalk. Like what would inspire someone to climb it?
When people are desperate, when people
Mm.
have, you know, nothing else to lose,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you try something? I
Okay.
mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're already in a difficult spot. The worst that can happen is you get up there, there's nothing there.
Cool.
So the mindset wasn't really, you know, I have so much to lose by going up there. It was, I have so much to lose if I don't go up there. And especially, spending the cow on it and having all these people frustrated and irritated with him. It was, can I get there? I'm going to get there. So it was really just a mindset shift that really pushed him to climb that because you got to think, I mean, it is pretty big. You can walk on the side, but it's still 5 miles climbing something. And if you fall, you fall. The magic is not going to stop you from collapsing down. Um, and so he went up there with the opportunity, not knowing of what he was going to find.
Okay. So how long did it take him to climb from the bottom to the top or wherever he ended up?
It took him a day.
A day. All right. All right. Now, so Jack climbed up. Did he go alone or did he have people with him?
He went by himself.
Okay. Then what happened?
Once he got up there, it was more of a shock because you're told one thing, but when you see it, it's
Yeah.
different. It's kind of like when you see something for yourself, this
Yeah.
wasn't really what I was expecting. Like I kind of had that concept. So once he got up there, I mean, he was in the clouds. So it was what is up here. Now, the thing is that the clouds were actually hiding land. Now, like I said, if you look up here, there is no land in the sky,
Right.
but in there, it's a lot different. Things do change. Things are a little more magical than it is here. So there were clouds that were land in the sky.
Okay. So he's in our inner Earth. He climbs up 5 miles. On the clouds, there's land. He gets off the beanstalk or whatever. And
Mhm.
okay, so the story goes that, again, he's teeny tiny and there's like giants in a castle there. And I don't actually remember every detail, but he meets like the goose that laid the golden egg and he's going to steal it. And then there's a magical harp that tells on him and he has to get away, blah, blah, blah. I
Yeah,
don't remember the
that
rest of the story.
some of that is made up. Now,
Yeah.
um, the goose is real. So, you got to think that, there is magic within them. They can change stuff. We have the option, the ability to change thing into gold ourselves. We just don't know how to access it. So it's the same thing. They had the understanding to access. The goose was doing it, by accident because it didn't know, but it had that possibility of doing it. Now, the giants at that point were using it because they wanted those eggs. Um, he was smaller, but it wasn't like a huge difference. They were probably, let's say he's 7 feet tall. They were probably like 20 feet tall. Okay.
Still
When they
tall.
depict it is tall, but
Yeah.
when they depict it, it's like they're 100+ feet tall.
Yeah.
So they weren't as ginormous as they're making them out to be.
Still big.
When
Yeah. Yeah.
it is big. It is
Still
big.
big.
So when they got there, you see this large castle, because everything did have to be larger. I mean, we're talking about a 20-foot person, right?
Yeah.
So structurally, things have to be different. Um, but they were able to go in, they were able to create this space that was more on that magical side. Where he was, it was the different layer. It wasn't as magical. Now they had some pieces that were magical, but it wasn't based off that. Once you get to the next layer, they had a little bit more of that ability. And when we talk about into the layer, we're talking closer to the center of the earth. So if he's on the outer center of the earth, they're on the inner center of the earth. Does that make sense?
Mm, a little
So
bit.
so this is the inside of the earth.
Yeah.
He is right here,
Yeah.
and then the stalk goes up here. So you're getting closer to that core,
Okay.
right?
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
when you get closer to the core, you're actually gathering more abilities, more power, more potency because you're closer to your organic DNA.
Okay. Okay. So
This is getting
these,
a little complex. I'm sorry.
no, 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 this is fascinating. Okay. So he goes, now the, the giants were 20 feet tall in this case. How many of them were there? Was it like a village? Was there just a handful? Was there one?
Small village is about 20.
Okay. Were they hostile or did they interact?
They were hostile at first because, it's a stranger in your space.
Yeah.
You're not used to that. You're used to your norm. So hostile at first, they did actually become friends.
Ooh.
And they actually wanted them to have wealth, to have what he needed. They wanted him to have some of the goose eggs. They wanted him to have a goose. The harp did not exist. Nobody tattled. But they wanted him to succeed because they had all of this, and between 20 people, they had more than enough. So they did feel that opportunity to share, and they could feel that he had motivation, but also a desperate need to have more. And they're not used to that. So when you see somebody that needs it's something more than you, you're more willing to give because you're
Yeah.
like, I already have what I've got.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that energy they felt from him. So they were more than willing to help him.
Oh my God, I love that. So did they give him like, say, a golden egg or something and then send him on his way, or did he stay there for a while? Like what happened?
They gave him a goose.
A
They
goose.
gave him
So
his
the
own goose to have his own eggs. And he was supposed to use this goose to share the wealth with others.
and did he?
He did, but he had to keep the goose on the.
So they gave him a goose. He goes back down with the goose, and he had to keep it under wraps so
Mhm.
nobody would steal it or harm it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what did he do? He gave the gold, of course, to his family, but then other people.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the thing is, he gave this stuff away, but he did alter it so it didn't look like an egg.
Ah,
He didn't want there to be questions on
yeah.
why does it look like an egg, so he did melt it down and form it. He was able to do that, but by doing this, he was able to keep the secret better. So he did think through things before going through. The family did find out about it, but they realized how much help it gave them that they kept it to themselves.
Awesome. Awesome. So I love, love, love that the giants helped him. Like that is so cool. So different than the way we're taught about giants, right? Or bigger
Yes,
people. All right. Now, what happened to the beanstalk after he got down, to his level again?
it stayed up.
Forever?
Yeah, it didn't leave.
Did he ever go back up or anyone else say, hey, what's that doing there? Should I climb it?
No, because there was a barrier around it. So unless you are the creator of the beanstalk, you can't see it.
Whoa, how cool is that? Okay. All right. So now, can we go back to the guys that gave the beans to Jack? That's fascinating. So they weren't from that timeline or whatever. All right.
Mhm.
So they popped in to help him.
Yes.
Where were they from? Like, were they from the future? Were they from the past? Like another reality? Like,
They were from a future in a different timeline. I know that doesn't make too much sense, but they wanted him to have this because they knew that if he was able to access this ability of creating wealth for others,
yeah,
that, excuse me, then he was going to do it because
awesome.
he was in such a spot of, I don't want to say desperation, but he knew what it was like to struggle.
Yeah,
And he knew that he didn't want others to struggle. And he had a whole heart. He cared and he desired to help others.
yeah.
So they wanted him to have it compared to anybody else. So there are spots in time where they do start to, interact with other beings or other timelines because they know if they help this individual, they're going to have a ripple effect. It doesn't happen too often, but it does happen.
So they knew he had a good heart and he would share.
Mm.
Now, I will say though, I'm surprised that there was such, we'll call it need. Like in my mind, you live in an earth, food is bigger, things are bigger, it's more clean, you're healthier. There shouldn't be a shortage of food. Do you know what I'm saying?
But remember, we're talking that there's layers. When we talk about inner earth, most of us think that it is just hollow and then it's just all rainforest and waterfalls. Think about it like Journey to the Center of the Earth, the movie, where they go through different sections in space. One is the ocean, one is cave-like, one is rainforest-like. There's still sections like that, but it's going to be in a different layer formation than what we're thinking.
Okay. All right.
Right? So in his layer, yes, things are bigger, but there is still a need for certain things. If you're a bigger person, you're going to need more food.
Right.
You're
Okay.
still going to go through your supplies. And it's still like it is out here. Like there are layers where people aren't getting the best access to the
Okay.
food, to the money. And that was the layer he was on.
Well said. All right. So fascinating, fascinating story. Now, I have a little side thing that's related to this I want to talk about. We had talked a while about Olaf Jansen, Jansen, I think it is, who had gone into the inner earth in, I'm going to say 17 or 1800s. He was Norwegian. He and his father sailed a ship kind of to the North Pole by accident, went into the earth, met some giants there. The giants spoke a different language. They kind of sang and they were like twice the height of us about.
Hmm.
And the food was bigger. They said like a grape was 2 feet across, a
Hmm.
turtle was like as big as a kitchen table, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So they lived there. And I was talking with King Smarty the other day about this story, and he said that's a true story.
Mhm.
But the story that we'll see on the internet or whatever has got some changes in it, meaning it's incorrect.
Yeah.
So they have a ton of gold in inner earth, all right? And Olaf and his father supposedly both left with a boat full of gold, which sank. But King Smarty said they were given a whole bunch of gold, but the father stayed in inner earth. And then Olaf went, I think, through the South Pole area to get out. And he got, well, I'm going to say raided. Okay, so another group came along,
Mhm.
took his gold, and imprisoned him. And he was not allowed to talk about this or whatever. And of course, they changed the story that the gold was lost at sea, that he
Yeah.
had. So that's what, when I had read this 10, 15 years ago, the ship had sank, the gold was lost. He was on an iceberg, and this group rescued him. But in fact, that group actually imprisoned him.
Yes.
Do you agree with that story?
Yes.
All right. And I think if I remember correctly, they said the father is still alive.
Yeah, he is.
Yes. And Olaf, if I'm correct, went back to Norway. All his possessions were taken, his house. He was imprisoned for something like 27 years. Then he moved somehow to like San Francisco or somewhere where he died, but he wrote his accounts down. Does
Yeah.
that sound true?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they wanted to take because he was going to not only share the information, but
Yeah.
he was actually going to take groups in.
Ah. Interesting. So, interesting story that
Mhm.
has been changed because they don't want us guys to know about it, right?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
think about it. I mean, you have people that are stuck doing the same thing over and over, stuck working for just food, basic
Yeah.
life things. When down there, now I know in the story I said that, they were on the poorer side, but there's sections. There's sections where it's like going into different doors. You don't really know what section you're going into.
Ah,
There's sections that are going to have more of that wealth, that gold, the great food,
yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
And that is a possibility. But just imagine if people went in there, nobody is going to want to stay out here working for somebody else.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's reasons they keep these shut off and closed because they know that if the people found out or if people found it,
Yeah.
they're not going to stay out here. And then if people get out of inner earth, what are people going to say?
Yeah, yeah. Makes sense. Well, it's interesting how the giants in the story didn't care about the gold. Like we if somebody gave us a bag of gold, we'd be like flipping out, right? But
Yeah,
they were like, "Yeah, take whatever you want."
yeah,
They also had like a monorail system, like I think it was powered by electricity somehow, and they probably had some more cool stuff that wasn't in the account. But for anyone that's interested in this, please look that up. And now you know the real story,
mhm,
right?
yeah.
How cool is that? Anything else to say about either Jack and the Beanstalk story or the Olaf Jensen story?
I think we covered most of it.
Yeah.
But if any of y'all, have
Yep.
questions, put them into the comments.
Yep.
That way we can write a list of what we need to cover next time.
Perfect. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Deanna. I appreciate your help so much.
of course. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.